And we'll end up in an information apocalypse, which will further undermine our respect for the truth and the possibility of collective action to solve some of humanity's most pressing problems. My name is Sanjay Modgil. My research and teaching are broadly in the areas of logic and kind of philosophy and ethics of artificial intelligence, or AI. The AI revolution is going to dramatically transform society in ways that dwarf earlier revolutions. And we're already glimpsing the future. We are witnessing developments in AI that we had not expected even a few years ago in terms of their ability to outperform machines in intelligent tasks. Effectively, we've glimpsed inside Pandora's box, and it is about to spring open. And we're going to be faced with lots of unintended consequences, impacts that are possibly detrimental. And this explains the urgency of regulating for AI now, while we can control its development and use. We need to think about the trade-off between overregulation and underregulation. So in the case of overregulation, there are concerns that if we place too many restrictions, we will hamper innovation and development of AI, and so we might not reap all the benefits we would want. There's an additional commercial concern, which is that if we overregulate in, say, one country or one domain of legislation, then other countries or other domains of legislation might allow for AI to be further developed, and we kind of lose out in this AI arms race, as it were. On the other hand, underregulation, a light-touched approach to AI regulation, might not anticipate some of the dangers, unanticipated long-term impacts of AI on human society, sometimes existentially threatening impacts. It seems to be the case that, in particular, the UK and other countries are adopting a more light-touch approach, whereas I would suggest they need to take an approach that really takes quite seriously the long-term impacts of AI on societal well-being. I know that many are dismissive of these concerns about existential threats to human society. But remember, we're not talking about killer robot type threats that you see in sci-fi movies or in some media headlines. We are talking about less obvious threats. And just to give one example of what we're already living through, consider how the use of AI filtering and recommendation algorithms have been used on social media that essentially feed users with information from the whole of the internet that confirms what they already believe. Then, of course, the problem is, if our beliefs become more and more hardened, more entrenched, even more extreme, then we end up with these kind of conflicting, more polarized understandings of the world around us. And if we can't agree on the facts, then how can we agree? How can we collectively come to agreements on solutions to existential threats such as pandemics and climate change? Now, I'm not saying that AI is solely responsible for this post-truth, polarized predicament that we find ourselves in, but it's played a role, and it's set to get a lot worse with these new AI systems being used to generate a lot more fake news, fake videos, and further confirm and entrench and fragment society. We wouldn't want just technologists and commercial interests to dominate the regulatory agenda, or at least to dominate how regulation is shaped. But really we need a kind of interdisciplinary body, almost like a sage AI, possibly centralized within countries, but maybe an international body that includes people from different disciplines, economists, philosophers, psychologists, social scientists, a body that collates a lot of interesting interdisciplinary work looking at the long-term societal impacts of AI, and then feeding that analysis through to those who are actually formulating regulation and government policy around AI. For example, imagine we had such a body 20 years ago. I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but maybe psychologists and social scientists would have commented on the fact that these kinds of filtering algorithms would amplify our confirmation bias. It would have led to this kind of polarization of beliefs. And then perhaps economists might have stepped in and said, well, okay, maybe you should rethink the attention economy as your business model. One pressing concern, and I think we're already beginning to see some of the impacts of AI in this respect, is the extent to which AI systems are kind of leveraging the human instinct. You could think of it as like the anthropomorphic bias, to assume that any kind of AI system that behaves or either verbally or physically or that looks human-like actually experiences human-like feelings, is conscious. So again, a kind of interdisciplinary body might, for example, say, well, okay, let's advise regulatory bodies to, say, ban development of human-like sex robots, which might have a detrimental impact on our ability to have relations with others, but on the other hand, license humanoid care robots. So the King's approach is really taking seriously the idea of kind of an interdisciplinary understanding of AI and its impact on society. The kind of understanding that I would hope informs regulation of AI so that we can really forewarn and forearm ourselves against some of the dangers but reap all the wonderful benefits.